What's happening, guys? SK Twins TV. Just gonna take my glasses off. We're just going live right now because just thought I'd go live and we could talk about the fights from the other night. First of all, if there's anyone about right now who wants to just talk boxing, no bullshit, straight talking, to the point, fight talk. Join us because I want to know your opinions. I want to know where you think Lomachenko should fight next. What you thought about the fight the other night. Should the ref have stopped the fight? Should he have gave Linares maybe half a second to maybe make up his mind if he wants to fight, continue fighting or not? Or do you think that was fair from the referee to just call it off straight away, even though Linares got to his feet? But regardless of what you think, though, I want to know how much fun you had watching that as a real boxing fan. All you real boxing fans out there, I want to hear from you right now. I want to know, how did you view that fight? I thought it was absolutely spectacular. I thought it was a phenomenal fight, And these are the type of fights that we really need to be seeing in boxing. There's too many fights nowadays where it's 80-20 or 90-10 in terms of the percentage of the chances of who's going to win, We're not seeing many 50-50 fights. And that's one of the reasons why MMA is sort of taking over boxing in terms of viewership. They put on more competitive fights. They put on way more closely contested battles, if you like. And it's only really with the people they're really trying to promote and build up here and there who they give more favourable matchups to. But overall in MMA, you'll see, and particularly in the UFC, obviously, who's the industry leader, in their cards, you're pretty much watching like 10 to 15 fights that are all good fights, good 50-50 fights. And that always results in a good card. I mean, regardless of who's on the card, UFC events are always really good, action-packed. A lot of people attending, great matchups. So, yeah, boxing needs this kind of same approach. I mean, who agrees? Who's out there right now? I want to hear your opinions. I want to hear what you got to say about it. I genuinely feel fights like Linares and Lomachenko, these are benchmark fights. These are fights that we really can't take for granted. We have to appreciate them when they come around. We, as boxing fans, need to identify that people like Bob Arum, promoters like Eddie Hearn, people like Lou DiBella, just everybody in the game, really, they all need to take close attention to these type of fights and the reaction of these type of fights from the fans, because if they keep putting on matchups like this, the criticism they get from fans is going to go down and go down and go down, and before you know it, it's going to be non-existent. I mean, you've got guys like Eddie Hearn coming to America, establishing Matchroom USA, which he's going to come and he's going to put on that same style of event he does in Britain, pretty much. And see, to be honest, Eddie Hearn's fantastic at putting a show on and building his own guys. He's not a guy who puts 50-50 fights on, though. His guys only fight 50-50 opponents when they're pushed against a wall, backed up against a wall, and one of the governing bodies for the belts forces them, i.e. Kell Brook, when he had to fight Errol Spence. He was backed up against a wall. He was never going to take that fight if he didn't have to. And they did try to get out of taking that fight, especially taking that fight at 147. They did not want to do it. So what I'm saying is, these promoters, Lou DiBella, Bob Arum, these guys in America who are doing it, what they need to realize is, and Golden Boy as well, Oscar De La Hoya. You guys don't like Eddie Hearn. You guys don't want a guy like Eddie Hearn just coming in and running shop and changing things in America. The best thing to do is to put on 50-50 fights. Make sure you're putting on fights like this, like Linares versus Lomachenko. Let's have a top billing on the event, something equivalent to Linares and Lomachenko, and have really interesting prelim fights to build up to that. Have up and comers, but get them fighting someone a little bit better. Get them not taking too much risks, but I mean, they could be fighting better guys. They could be fighting better guys. Definitely. I mean, the next time Lomachenko fights, for example, you could, and you could have. I don't know. You take your pick. Who you want on the undercard? There's guys like Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson. There's Ryan Garcia. I mean, all these guys have mentioned they want to fight Lomachenko in one way or another. Whether it's Ryan Garcia, whether it's Tank Davis, whether it's whoever, because there's a lot of guys. Mikey Garcia is touted to fight Lomachenko, but he's went up in weight now to 140. Whoever it is, what you need to do is you need to start putting those guys who are calling guys at Lomachenko, calling guys like whoever it is, Errol Spence or whatever, who are calling these guys out. You need to put them on the undercard of Lomachenko. Hence, let's just use Lomachenko for argument's sake right now. He's a star everybody wants to beat. Now, if you want to build up big matchups for the near future, and you want to really compete with other sports, combat sports like MMA and even kickboxing and stuff like that, that's beginning to really build up now. You need to create that hype. You need to really build the rivalries. So if Lomachenko's fighting, for example, like let's just say this weekend it was Linares he fought, so the undercard would be perfect to have Devin Haney on his undercard because he's a guy in the future that could go on and fight Lomachenko. Also, Tank Davis on the undercard. Guys, things like that. You see them knocking someone out and then on the mic, talking good, calling out somebody, calling out Lomachenko. That's how you get the fans talking. That's how you get people, a buzz created about a fight. And I think that's what MMA is doing really well right now, especially in the UFC, where they're taking to that, because there's a fine line though between turning things into a circus and keeping things professional and keeping it as a fight show. However, you need to build the interest within the casuals because not everybody is a die-hard boxing fan and they know who Shakur Stevenson is, or they're well informed of the likes of Tank Davis and what he's capable of doing and who he should be fighting, and Errol Spence and other guys that Lomachenko could fight. For example, Terence Crawford at 140 is a fantastic bout if they want to do it catch weight or Lomachenko wants to go up when he does want to go up, or Crawford coming down. There's so many big matchups out there, but the casual fans don't know shit, unfortunately. And it's not their fault. It's the sport's job to build the matches up, to really build these rivalries, get the public talking, and that's how you get big fights done. And when they do make the big fights, they're not duds. They're huge matchups with big interest. All the networks are interested. Social media is going off the hook. And then you have a great 50-50 fight. And I guarantee you, after that fight in the weekend there between Lomachenko and Linares, people are talking about boxing. People are talking about boxing, properly. It was so exciting, that fight. And it's been such a while, and real boxing fans, you'll feel what I'm saying, because we don't get many 50-50 fights like that where it was. I mean, Linares was written off by a lot of publications and a lot of people. However, real boxing fans knew that he has every much of the chance of turning this into a great back and forth battle and really, really turning it into something special. And that's exactly what he done. He turned into something really special. I mean, when he dropped Lomachenko, come on. You try to say your heart wasn't beating, your heart wasn't going off. I was going mental. I was going crazy. I couldn't believe it. Lomachenko walked right into his cross. Bing! On the deck. Flash knockdown. However, still a pivotal point in the fight. Linares had just brought himself back into the fight. He was only narrowly losing at that point, in my opinion, on points. However, he really brought himself back in. And all the judges had a draw up to the 10th round before he got finished. So we've never seen Lomachenko get worked in this way. Excuse me. A lot of people are criticizing the people that Linares has fought up to this point. Anthony Crawler twice. He's fought Kevin Mitchell. He fought Luke Campbell. A lot of people from England, for example. But a lot of people are criticizing him, saying he's not had the correct build-up. He's not had the correct sort of preparation to fight a guy like Lomachenko. Oh, did he prove you wrong? He proved you lot wrong, big time. Because it's about style matchups. Styles make fights at the end of the day. It does matter who you fought, what level of opposition you fought, but once you're at a certain level, styles make fights. Styles make fights, honestly. And Linares had the style, and still has the style, to give Lomachenko problems. If they fought again, it'd be a very similar fight. It'd be 50-50. It would be very, very similar. Very similar. Both guys would still bring it. It would go into the depths, the myths, the dense parts of the battle. It would go into deep waters like it did the other night. And don't know if Lomachenko would win again the exact same way. But the fight would be pretty similar in terms of both men would bring it all the way to the end. And there's other styles that Lomachenko can just completely thrash. He can completely dominate with his footwork and his movement and his speed. But then there's always that style out there that's got your number. Again, anybody who understands the sport, anybody who's competed in the sport, understands that around the corner, there's always somebody who's got your number. Always somebody who's got your number. I remember back in the day hearing about when and guys, I want to hear from you. I want to hear from what you think about the fight. I honestly feel there should be a rematch because I think it'd be spectacular, and I think there'd be even more interest this time because of how effective Linares was. I want to know your opinion. Tell me what you think. Do you want to see a rematch? Who do you want to see Lomachenko fight next? Let me know in the comment section. I remember years ago when Vladimir Klitschko was, on top of my head, I can't actually remember who he was preparing for, but he was preparing for somebody, and his team brought Usyk in for sparring. Usyk, the cruiserweight guy. Yeah, cruiserweight guy. Right now he's in the final of the World's Boxing Super Series, whatever it's called. They brought Usyk in, and Vladimir Klitschko was extremely technical, long-limbed, very agile, very, very, very technical, very crisp boxer. Not many people could give him trouble, just purely because of his height, the range control that enables you to have, and his understanding of the game. I mean, obviously, he's phenomenal. And in those days, particularly, he was obviously in his dominant era during that 10-year run of being unbeaten at heavyweight. They brought Usyk in to the camp, and I remember reading about how they'd done a couple of rounds, and Usyk was really beginning to give Vladimir problems. He was bullying him around. He really bullying him around and starting to man him, show him who's the man in there. And Vladimir didn't want any of that, and they done a couple of rounds, and they got rid of Usyk. they said, "Nah, that's enough. I'm not wanting anymore." Because there's always those guys out there who are unknown to most people, but real boxing fans might know who they are. Obviously, Usyk is well known to boxing fans. He's a gold medalist in the Olympics and what have you. But people always underestimate the fact that yes, somebody's great, somebody's style is dominant and is truly effective, but there's always somebody out there, a boogeyman, if you like, who's got your number. They've just got your number somehow. They've got, and I'm not saying Linares has got Lomachenko's number in any way. However, I do feel he is that style that can always, 9 times out of 10, will always give a guy like Lomachenko problems. I truly feel that. I feel the same about Mikey Garcia. I feel 9 times out of 10, he will give Lomachenko problems. Honestly, I feel that. Just because the style, his movement, the shot selection, I just feel he would. A guy like Adrian Bronner, I think he would get plowed to pieces by a guy like Lomachenko with the utmost respect. I feel he's too stationary, and I feel Lomachenko would move around him and just pick his shots at will, if you like. So that's why it's one of those ones. So there's always somebody out there who has got your number, who could figure you out, who can give you problems. And Linares is that guy for Lomachenko. So I'd like to see them have a rematch and see what happens in a rematch. Tell me what you think. Man, who's on right now anyway? I'd like to hear from you guys. Just put my glasses on for a second just to check who's online. Whoever's about right now. I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to hear what you have got to say. If you have any questions about boxing, let me know. Answer any questions you've got. We'll be back with another stream shortly. We'll see if more people are online. Right now, there's not many people online. So yeah, peace for now. SK Twins TV, and that was a phenomenal fight for the fans.